Hey there, Benders! Welcome to Which Avatar Element, the video series where I take the role of the Lion Turtles, examining characters from different franchises and deciding which element fits them best. Today, I will be diving into the spirit of Khal Drogo, the leader of the Dothraki from A Song of Ice and Fire. Oh, and spoiler alert for all things Game of Thrones, Season 1, and A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. Fire represents life and energy, a connection to the dragons and the sun. General Iroh describes firebending as the, quote, unflinching will to accomplish task. It's through this will that the firebending style focuses on using barrages of flame to overwhelm enemies, adhering to the thought that the best defense was a better offense. When translated into the 7 chakras, fire is represented by the solar plexus, which is focused on willpower and self-discipline. The ability to turn thoughts and desires to movement and action. The demon or challenge of this chakra is shame. Like most Dothraki, Drogo epitomized the idea of thoughts and desires turned into ferocious movement. Sejor remarked the military strategy of Drogo's Khalazar as unrelenting, and Drogo himself, while in combat, or just being Khal Drogo, was rather impassioned, a barbarian in every sense of the word. And shame was nowhere near a challenge for the great rider. Fire was certainly an element well suited to the great Khal, a passionate drive that would rival the likes of Azula or Ozai, without any form of shame to hold him back. Air is the element of freedom, defined by its spirituality and dynamic versatility. The basis of airbending came from the path of least resistance, favoring an almost exclusive defense. It represented the 4th chakra, located in the heart, defined by its wellspring of love, warmth, compassion, and joy. But it was blocked by grief and sorrow. Drogo definitely does not align with the idea of the path of least resistance, and though he did have a wellspring of love for the moon of his life, the love defined by air is more unconditional and universal, rather than sensual. Otherwise, Drogo could not be more of an antithesis of air. His fighting style had no correlation with the element, and his spirituality could never be related to the leaf in the wind mentality of air. And though he cherished his freedom above all else, it was self-driven and taken, rather than a universal truth for all. Water is considered the element of change. It is connected to the moon and the ever-changing tides of the oceans. Waterbenders use the flow of energy in battle, using their defense as an offense. The 2nd chakra, also known as the sacral chakra, is connected to the element of water. It's the center of feeling, emotion, pleasure, sensuality, intimacy, and connection. Unknown to most, even to those who have only experienced the show, there is deep love and warmth hidden behind Drogo's curt remarks.
No.
In the books, the consummation of his marriage to Daenerys Targaryen was much more sensual than what we got from the show, which comes off as kind of, well, uncomfortable rape. Originally, Khal Drogo was very sweet with his Khaleesi, waiting for her to get, well, you know, before continuing his sexual advances. So the parallel of the sensual intimacy, characterized by the sacral chakra, checks out. But in terms of a more general connection, and a combat style that flows with the opponent, Drogo has very few similarities with water. Earth was the element of substance, classified by its strength and no BS attitude. The bedrock of earthbending was rooted around Neutrogene, the wisdom of knowing when to wait and when to strike. Earth was the first and primary chakra, located at the base of the spine, defined by its courage, resourcefulness, and the everlasting will to survive. But it was blocked by fear. Khal Drogo was definitely a brick wall of a man. In terms of his personality, he definitely did not take a lot of BS. And the demon of the root chakra meant nothing to him, as he feared nothing. Well, nothing but the narrow sea, perhaps. In combat, he met his opponent head-on with a strong stance, facing adversity in a frontal assault. Earth was definitely an element that paralleled with Khal Drogo, coupled with his unyielding combat tactics, whether on horseback or fighting head-to-head. It seems rather obvious that both air and water can be easily ruled out as possible elements for Khal Drogo. Though he has displayed rare sensuality and a surprising light-footed balance for his size, he has stronger ties to that of fire and earth. The difficulty is choosing between the two, which has the stronger correlation to the Great Khal. In terms of how he relates to the chakras of fire and earth, I think he aligns the both rather equally. He can easily turn his thoughts and desires into action, and his rooted will to survive was unmatched by anyone in his Khalazar. But when splitting hairs, I would have to side with the passion of fire, rather than the more stoic tenets of earth. Dothraki are built on breaking the wills of their enemies and their horses, and taking hold of the world themselves through proactive action, aka raiding and pillaging. This is also the case for his fighting technique, which is less about stonewalling his opponent with a shield, or hiding behind a castle, or playing an elaborate Game of Thrones, or adhering to the principle of waiting and listening. But his technique was more about overpowering and outmatching his opponent. For someone with no armor, he would have to be light on his feet like a firebender, and his attack sequences would have to be equally tenacious. It's certainly close, and either fire or earth would be a good match for Khal Drogo. But ultimately, as a lion turtle, I would bless him with the power of fire. Of course, this is all my opinion based on the lore of Avatar and A Song of Ice and Fire. Do you think Khal Drogo will be a firebender? Or do you think the lion turtles would choose a different element? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, peace, love, 7 blessings, and remember, be water, my friends.